All right. Well, here we go. Been a while. I haven't done one of these in a long time. Somewhere around 8 months, and really had a hard time doing some of those last ones. I definitely could hear it in my voice, but no, I'm excited to do this again. I would say this time I'm not chugging a couple shooters of vodka right before. I used to do that because it'd give me a boost. Um, so yeah, today what I wanted to talk about is you know a version of your life that works really well until it doesn't anymore. And when that breaks, it doesn't ask for permission. I recently worked my way off alcohol. I'm almost a year out of it. A lot of family history there, yay. But at the same time, it also, our kind of business is it's a grinder, and it was something that gave me a second wind. It worked really well until it didn't anymore. And there's a really fuzzy area in there where it's like hit or miss. All right. So glad where I'm at today. However, we're going to talk a little bit more about that and life changes. Definitely a kryptonite. Not here to relive the past, but today's more about talking about what survives after a system fails, after your operating systems. Maybe y'all have had some times in your life where you used to do one thing a certain way and then all of a sudden quit working, and it's like, man, you've got this thing ingrained into you and how your cadence and your repetitions do so well, and then it doesn't work anymore. And you've heard that expression of um, what got you here won't get you where you need to be. That's kind of where I'm going at here. So, and some background to this, Jimbo, you reached out, I don't know, a few weeks ago and said, hey, let's do one. And I got excited. I was like, yeah, let's do one. Made me feel good, you know? So thank you for doing that. What gave you the urge to do that? Was there anything that made you want to
Yeah,
do that or something that sparked it?
so so actually, the one that you and I did, uh, I have forwarded it to a ton of people because a lot of people don't realize what I went through as a kid all the way up to where I am today, and
Yeah.
they kind of call me the uh, counselor of the campground. I guess when
Hmm.
people have issues, they come to me. Hey, how do we fix this? What do we need to do? And so, in the process of listening to their story, I would say, "Hey, do you have Spotify?" And they did, and I'd send them the podcast, and they'd be like, "Holy crap! You were abused and beat up and slept in drainage ditches, and look at you now. You're up the top of the ladder in manufacturing. You've got your life set out for you." I said, "Yeah, but it's a lot of work, and everybody can do it as long as you work for what you want." And that's what I had to do. And I was sitting there talking to a person that night, and I was like, "You know what? I think we need to do another one. I'm gonna send Tony a text." I think it was like 9 o'clock at night when I sent you a text. We were sitting there. I was sitting there watching Alabama basketball game.
Hmm.
So
Nice. Yeah. One of my favorite parts of your story is the death row prison guard experience that you had.
right,
People have nothing to lose, and you get to kind of be around them. That's
yeah.
fun.
I mean, they have no worries in the world. They got 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to figure out how to mess you up. But they're
Yeah.
humans that made a mistake and got caught. And
Yeah.
there's actually a lot of nice people in there, as bad as it
Yeah.
sounds, but they had a rough life and they've learned from it.
Nothing's more dangerous than someone with nothing to lose, for better or
That's
in the
it.
other direction. So, um, well, cool. So these four guests today, or these three guests today, we got one that may join. We'll see. Um, have all seen me in my best and worst in the high pressure manufacturing environment that we worked in. Um, and it's a scenario where reliability really isn't optional. Like the people that make it, the people that do well are reliable. They can communicate well. They know people, and y'all are spot on with those things. And want to get you on to catch up on life, but I know with your life experiences that you probably have some insight on this topic. What's left standing after some wreckage, the quiet phase no one talks about, something I've been exploring lately and been pretty deep into. So yeah, that's enough of the intro. Tell us, go around the room and kind of say, elevator speech, who you are, what you've done in the past, what you're doing now. So who wants to go first? Rebekah, you go
Rebekah
first.
likes to talk. She can go first.
Oh, love it. So Rebekah, I'm trying to think how old I am now at this point. I'm 43, going to be 44. I've got 3 adult children. Youngest is getting ready to graduate with her bachelor's and then starting to grad school. Middle one's getting married this year. So keeping me busy as always. So a little bit about me from the past, like military brat, grew up. My dad was career military, kind of traveled around everywhere. Ended up landing in Louisville, Kentucky, well, right outside Louisville, Kentucky, and then started my career here. Um, Basically working like random jobs until I was in my late 30s and ended up in manufacturing and started as a file clerk and then worked my way from a file clerk and all while I was going to school for addiction counseling.
What do
But
you know
so
about Ibogaine?
huh?
I'm sorry, I got to inject. Ibogaine. Do y'all talk about that in your addiction
No,
counseling?
not so much. So that
Okay.
was kind of before, like, it's become a whole lot more popular now. And
Yeah.
then I've like researched it now a whole lot more, but like back then, no, it wasn't
Okay.
that big of a topic. Um, so as I finished my bachelor's degree, I was working like in a manufacturing, and I was like, maybe I don't want to be a counselor anymore. Maybe I'm supposed to be in manufacturing. So uh, ended up going into manufacturing, which ended up leading me to um, KDP, where I met you all, and where I was an operation supervisor and worked with Jimbo, which was pretty awesome. He had one line, I had the other.
Pretty scary.
Felt like we were a damn good team.
Yeah, y'all
Uh,
were a good team
I
for
still
sure.
think it's funny that him and Richard didn't think I was going to make it that first week. So,
Yeah, it's pretty cutthroat.
Well, yeah,
um, but
it
then
is.
was there just a short time. Realized that that wasn't my path. Got back into grad school, and now I'm working. I work in a 3PL. I've been there for about 3.5 years. We just launched the new building a couple weeks ago, so I'm in the process of doing the launch. And then I'm working on my PhD. I'm in my second year, getting ready to go into my third.
Awesome.
Ooh,
PhD. That's
Yes.
awesome. And
hmm.
quick blurb about Rebekah, quiet killer, something I wrote down. Great with understanding people, makes people tick. So she knows how to, see an edge in people, figure out how to motivate them, things like that. But and still has a bird's eye view on the business while working in it. What I remember about Rebekah. So Jimbo, you up?
All right. All right. So my name's Jimbo. I'm tell you, I was born in around Chicago, Illinois, raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Moved south the year after I graduated high school because I was not going to work in a restaurant because that's all there was. Couldn't join the military because I was 335 pounds. They wouldn't have me. Couldn't join the police force. So I'm saying I'm
I
not going to
find
work
that
in a
hard to
restaurant. I'm going to
believe
move south
still.
where there's. Yeah. And then I moved south, and the first job I had was working in a restaurant, something I didn't want to do, but it was the only thing there was. So, but then I got into actually moved forward in the restaurant work. I ran 3 restaurants for Gibson's Barbecue. Made a good living back in the 80s, $500 a week. That was huge money, huge money, And then probably in 19, I want to say 95, 96, uh, I went through a divorce. Had 2 little girls, a 9-month old and a 5-year old that I was raising. Their mama didn't want them. and I had to make a change. So I decided to get in the manufacturing world. I went and applied at Kohler Corporation. They told me they weren't going to hire me because I had no experience, and it's kind of like that podcast we did. I told them, I said, give me a chance. If I can't do it in 6 months, I'll go. Leave me alone. I'll walk away, but I've got to raise these two kids. So 24 years later, I retired from Kohler as an area uh, production manager, and thought that I would just kind of chill out a little bit. Lasted about 2 months. Had to go back to work because I couldn't stand sitting around. Went to
Yep.
Nissan. Worked in Nissan in Manchester, Tennessee, about a 2-hour drive every day. And from there, I got a call from KDP and went to work at KDP in Louisville, Kentucky for 2 years. Great place. Loved everybody there. There was a couple people that I could have done without, but it'd been all right. But
What was it an easy place? Was it an easy place to work, Jimbo?
It was. I had
Good.
never done bottling before or anything like that, but it actually, once you catch on to anything, I feel that I'm the type of person, I can make your operation run if you give me a chance. And that's all I ever ask anybody. Give me a chance, and I'll prove to you that we can make this happen with either, the group effort, but we can make heads turn and make stuff work. So
Good deal.
then in 21, I lost my daughter and knew it was time to come back to Alabama to be with my other three kids. So, and since then, my youngest daughter, she has given me a grandson, and then told me last week I got a granddaughter on the way. So
That's
I'll have 5
exciting.
grandkids.
Congratulations.
But she told me that the little girl was going to be born in September, and I automatically pulled up my calendar and I said, well, it's got to be the first 2 weeks, because after that I'm in Tuscaloosa watching Alabama play football. So,
I'm gonna roll a
so
dice
if
and
you
say it's gonna be on
if
September 27th.
It's definitely going to be end
oh,
of the month now,
California.
Jimbo. Just go and cancel your
Oh,
travel
they gone.
plans. Not
Can't
this
do it.
year.
Can't do it. Season tickets. Season tickets. Can't do it.
They'll have another
So
season.
I told her yeah, but it might not be as good as this one. I don't want to miss it. No,
Oh
I'm just
my
kidding.
goodness.
I'm gonna be I'm always gonna be there for my kids. So, and then now I'm working at a place called Jet Polymer in Fort Payne. I started there in July of 22 as just plain old production supervisor. Uh, since then, I have rolled into production manager. I have 147 employees, 90% Hispanic, which was the toughest thing I have ever encountered,
Speaking Spanish
because
here?
they didn't know what I was saying on my phone.
Okay, I
I
got you.
do a lot of translate, but they know what my expectations are. They great bunch of people to work with. That's we have turned that place around in the last 2 years tremendously,
Awesome.
and
It's
they
fun,
are the
isn't it?
most respectful. It is. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of
Yeah.
fun. So
A
the
lot
only
of
thing I'm working on
satisfaction.
now is trying to figure out a little work-life balance. I
Yeah.
got to get that under my hat somehow. I generally leave the
Yeah.
house at 6:30 in the morning, come home at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night.
Hmm.
So, but hopefully
I'm
2 more
a
years, maybe 3 years, I'll be retired and I don't have to worry about it no more.
A
I'm a
second
believer in
family.
that as a seasonal thing. Personally, however, haven't really done good with that. So good luck. Yeah, Jimbo, great work ethic. One of the best work ethics I've ever seen. All right, Whitney, tell us about you.
I don't know if I have as exciting stories as both of you guys, but my name is Whitney. I am 38 in 3 weeks. Also, Jimbo, you're about to retire a second time. I would have never pegged you to be that far in life, or to guess that you had adult children, Rebekah, even though I do remember you speaking on them. So I feel very behind, but I know I'm not. I'm 38. I worked in HR in the manufacturing environment that we met. Also don't know. I'm HR, so I have a different training. So I don't know how deep I'm going to get into like saying names. You guys are stressing me. Actually, I supported that site for a little under 4 years, I would argue. But I got to only work, I think, with Rebekah and Jimbo less than a year. And I think I had Tony for 2 years. I have a master's degree. I do enjoy working with people. I got married 4 years ago. I moved to Florida 3 years ago. I'm definitely in a transition of seasons in my life. Florida's been great. My mother lives up the street. But as I get older, just realizing what's important to me and what environment I can thrive in, and getting to a place where I enjoy to be. We are raised in HR to try to cultivate an environment where people want to work, but who's doing that for us? And so, finding somewhere that, makes me happy to go to work too. So I transitioned from manufacturing actually in October. So it's only been about approaching 4 months. I'm in medical technology for a company that's been around celebrating 100 years next year. And so I get to learn a different industry. It's a different type of person I'm working with. It's a lot of engineers and quality technicians and surgeons assistants and RNs, and it's a different environment. And so far it's been fantastic. My husband and I are on a fertility journey that is not looking great. And so a lot of opportunity for me to, make pivots and reflect on what's important and, decide what type of legacy we want to leave in life and how I want to live while I'm here. So I do a lot of work in slow fashion. So what makes me happy is, buying directly from makers and impacting someone's day, which I could also argue I do in my day-to-day in HR. And so that's what kind of keeps me going.
Awesome. Well, cool. What I have written up for Whitney, professional communicator plus competence on steroids. Always had clear answers. Also knew how to say, hey, you're full of it without saying you're full of it.
I do think that I tell people all the time that there's not really a conversation I'm afraid of having. And I do think that's from my HR training. And I think we'll get into this, but somebody in our past life tried to speak on me being too close to people to correct them. And that's when I knew that I was not in a place with people who knew me, because the relationship is what allows you to have really in-depth conversations with people. And I don't have to be mean to get my point across. And that's when I knew that I wasn't somewhere I could thrive, because if you knew me, then you would know that that's how you have an impact on a person. Nobody listens to someone they don't have a relationship with. So you develop the relationship first and then the influence comes. And so there's not a conversation I'm afraid to have, because I know at the core that there's some type of relationship there, that we've had interactions enough that I can say what needs to be said, maybe without, damaging, or if it is damaging, it's worth being damaged and I don't have to worry about it. And I do think that is just a lesson some people need in life.
Yeah. If I think back on like every single tough conversation I had to go into, knowing that it was going to be tough, no matter what it was, if I could come out of it and the other person was like, I get it, then that's a win. That's because the relationship was already there, even if it wasn't like in the positive direction that you want it to go. But I feel that one too. So introductions, and you are up. So the introduction is basically elevator speech, what you did with us as a group, and then what you're doing now.
Yeah, good deal. So appreciate the segue. My name is Bakari Fucuals. Born and raised in Dallas, Texas. Worked for Keurig Dr. Pepper for over a decade. Before going to Keurig Dr. Pepper, I worked for a company called First Choice Medical Supply, which was more along the lines of logistics and warehousing. But my formal education was actually as an automotive service technician. I opted to go to trade school versus 4-year university. Eventually, I did go back to start working on my degree, but the more I would work on my degree, the more I would get promoted. So it was kind of a pick and choose type of thing. kind of began my manufacturing of my food and beverage career. Started out as a technician, and then moved into the TPM continuous improvement side.
You mean like a mechanic?
Yeah.
Like a mechanic?
Yep, like a mechanic. So was a wrench turner. And from there, it just kind of opened up and allowed me to move into leadership. One of the leaders that I had, the way that I moved into leadership, I was a football coach while I was working for Keurig, and he said, "Hey, have you ever thought about getting into leadership?" I was like, "Nope. I see how many supervisors come and go. I don't want any part of it." And he said, "Well, it's just like coaching sports. I use the same methodology. The line has to block, the quarterback has to make the throws, the coach has to call the right plays." And so I've always viewed it through that lens. The same way I lead my teams is the same way I've always coached football. It's the way that the best coaches I've had have always coached me. And that ended up working out. Thinking about what I've done, of course, moved up to the senior manager role at KDP, and then left KDP and went to a bigger C Corp international company where I'm the operations director over one of the largest sites in the U.S. Um, Hindsight being 2020, and even as I learn and evolve and grow, I'm learning that systems are very important for certain styles. I was always under the belief that, hey, leadership is leadership. And what I am learning is that systems are very important as far as what people's leadership styles are. But glad to be here, excited to contribute, and looking forward to the dialogue.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, Big, we used to call him. The mechanic reference on DeMarcus. That's where I was going with that. But yeah, we go back to Texas bottling plant. Had a few years there, TPM planner of mine, pulled you out the floor onto the group lead, right? I
Yep.
was like, man, you need to be out here.
Yeah.
Seeing the potential with people, and just grew from there. I had to drag you up to Louisville. I had no other options, which was beneficial, which worked until it didn't.
Yeah.
Which is what we're here to talk about today.
Yeah.
All right. So the meat and potatoes. We're going to talk about what stopped working. So let's name the collapse. What kind of collapse have any of y'all experienced? I've lost a job twice all of a sudden. That's stuck in my freaking radar. If something doesn't feel right, I'm looking at it. And then, recently relationship changed pretty quick, big life changes. So took me back to thinking about this topic.
I don't like, for me, I've had so many different collapses throughout my life. I think there's always like a continuous part of like rebuilding yourself and redefining yourself. Like even when I was at KDP, that was one for me because I applied at KDP twice. The first time was just like completely rejected. And then the second time, obviously got the job. It was one of those things that I had prayed for, hoping to get the job. And then when I got there, I realized it wasn't where I was supposed to be. So that was like a collapse for me, trying to like figure out like why I interpreted something that I wanted so badly didn't pan out the way I thought that it would. And then like even my children becoming adults was another collapse for me, where I was no longer needed in the way that I wanted to be needed or thought that I should be needed. So life's about those collapses and how you build from them.
Great. Anyone else?
I think generally that, we have collapses that we don't see as a collapse, but I think generally everything. So basically, what I do, if I have something that goes wrong, I'm going to learn from it quickly and move forward, because there's no time to sit, whine, or cry, or think about it. But you got to move forward to keep life moving. Many things in my life, I've built from a nothing to a something. And that's basically learning off of what I did wrong or someone did wrong to move forward, whether it's me or helping someone else move forward. I think collapse is mainly just a learning experience. You have to learn from what went wrong to make life better. So I think
resonate with
I've been
that,
married 3
with
times.
the whole.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say I resonate with that, with the getting over things as fast as possible. Like if I know if I got to get over something,
Yeah.
I'm looking at all the tools to do it. I'm trying to do it. Even if it has to be ironed out in the long run, like let's get over that hurdle and keep going. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. My biggest thing is I think something should be fixed in a day, and it doesn't work like that. But
Sure.
I will strive. The next morning when I get up, I'm going to push to make something go right, so I can forget about what the hell went wrong yesterday. And what happened yesterday, you can't worry about yesterday. You got to worry about today and tomorrow.
Yep. Good stuff.
That's definitely who I am as a person too. And a lot of people, it's a mindset for me. Like things, will be going terribly, things will be burning, but whatever next is coming, I just keep my eyes on that. Like keep it moving forward. I would say I do think collapsing is just life lessons. I also think, Rebekah, you said maybe I wasn't supposed to be there. I think there are places we're supposed to be to serve us in that time. Like Jimbo took the restaurant job when he got to the South, even though he was running from restaurant jobs around Chicago. Like it's sometimes you just do what's best for you at the time. And I think as things progress, so all the jobs I've had have always been progressions in my career, whatever my next step is. And so, as I look back now, maybe I shouldn't have stayed there as long. I think I am a people pleaser at my core. I'm an eldest daughter, and so I really hate to disappoint people. And so my last 2 jobs, I have found myself hanging around probably a year longer than the company deserved because I don't want to disappoint the relationships I've built, or like disrupt the lifestyle I've had. You feel a little guilty about trying to move forward and progress for yourself. And so I would say that my collapses were definitely just life lessons. And they were really kind of me disrupting because it was something that I felt didn't serve me anymore. If I were to let it be, so I've never lost a job, but if I were to let it be up to others, I would still be in the same positions that I was in when I started, very minimal, like just progression. I get in a place, I do it well, and they love to keep me there, and so just chasing, the bag. I'm a millennial, so chasing whatever that next pay increase is, chasing whatever that next title increases is what has always motivated me to maybe start looking into other companies. And so I do think that collapses are just life lessons. You think something's going to happen and it doesn't. It looks like my husband and I are going to stay child free. We're not going to win our fertility battle. And so, trying to figure out what that looks like for us the next 10 years, that's been really hard. And to speak, Jimbo, I am the type of person to be over things in a day. So even when we were in college, my friends used to be like whenever we would, have relationships in, we're like, you can cry for a day. Like I'll give you 24 hours. I'll call you this time tomorrow. We're going to keep it moving. We're back out there. We're talking to people, like you just can't dwell. And I didn't learn until like 5 years ago that everybody's not that way. So my husband sometimes looks at me like I'm crazy when I'm ready to talk about like what our next steps are, where we're going, what I'm going to do. Because I just don't like to dwell in the negative. I'm ready to see what I can cultivate for me to be happy about again, whether that's a trip to Costa Rica or Guatemala, like whatever we can get to where I can generate some positivity so I can be happy, short-lived or not. I'm not one to hang around and be sad when things kind of collapse or go down. So I'm definitely the same way. So I'll give it 24 hours max, and then I have to move on from whatever's stressing me out. And, I lost a brother, a cousin who was like a brother. And so I understand like grief, and it doesn't go away in 24 hours, but, just trying to keep it like day to day and keep it moving so that I don't find myself kind of drowning.
I think the older that I get, the more that I learn that to not sit in my own self-pity. So I'm like, okay, you got 10 minutes, go whine, cry, throw a fit, scream, do what you need to do, and then get back out there. But that took a lot of time to cultivate that.
Right.
Well, I would say talking about collapse, or after the collapse, one of the pivotal moments I can say in my recent adult life was actually leaving KDP. Just because by nature I'm extremely loyal, right? I'd moved up through the ranks there. I appreciated the opportunities that I had there. And so to actually leave that company, especially being that I was living in another state and then come back home, not have anything lined up. I had some savings and stuff, but it was still a pivotal moment where I kind of just got to the point where I was like, hey, man, I'm going to bet on myself. I think that my skills and relationships and the reason why I'm doing all of it is worth it. And I think that if there was ever a time to do it, then that was it. I know that the plant was left in a better, in a better place as far as I wasn't pulling the rug from underneath that group. The folks that wanted to grow, we had opened it up to them and allowed them to thrive and ask questions. And they even reach out now. I think I talked to Vianney maybe a couple of weeks back, Greg a couple of weeks ago, so those guys still reach out and we still have conversations, and I ask how the team members doing. But when I got back, there was like a certain sense of, there was almost like a sadness, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, man, I've spent so much time in one spot building relationships with people. And then to start somewhere fresh was not something that I really had considered as I was kind of moving through the ranks. But also in the spirit of being loyal, I respect loyalty. So as I was looking at other places and as I was interviewing, there are certain things that I would look for during the interview process that I had not ever looked at before. And it would make me turn down certain positions, or it would make certain positions seem a lot more like, hey, I could actually do that, or hey, I can be successful there. But I say all of that to say that one of the things that I've learned, and kind of growing up through the ranks, the way that I did, kind of starting at the ground level and just kind of climbing through the ranks, is resilience. So even certain things that I go through now, I'll give you a prime example. I sent Tony a picture of this beautiful new hot rod that I just purchased. Excited about it. We got in the car yesterday, and it's a 4-speed Muncie, 70 split bumper, big block engine, and we're riding down the road, and the shift linkage for the clutch goes out. And so sitting at the intersection in this nice, shiny orange Camaro, and cars are passing by. And in my head, I was just like, I really don't give a shit. Like, I had my hand out the window, I was waving people by. I was like, I'll call Haggerty, the insurance company, a tow truck will come. I'm not going to stress about it. It's been a long week anyway. I got doctor's appointments lined up next week for stuff that I thought is not supposed to happen until, you're an older gentleman. So now I got to go and get all these checkups and all of this maintenance and stuff done. But when you do the type of work that we've done, and especially in food and beverage, and you're working with margins, and you're looking at KPIs, and you're dealing with all these different personalities, when normal stuff happens in our life, I think that our brains automatically go to the problem solving mode. That all of us, we wouldn't be in the roles that we are or were in if we didn't have that light switch that goes off. And it really makes you start to say, hey, is this really, like, am I going to lose sleep over this, or is this just a minor inconvenience? And yesterday, as inconvenient as it was an inconvenience. Like, the lights weren't going to be cut off. The house is not getting foreclosed on. Like, you're not on the run from the cops. It's a shift linkage and a nice toy that you went and purchased. That's where my mind went. And we had bottled water in the car. So I was just like, and we're right outside the neighborhood. So it's just being able to put things into perspective as far as, is this really gonna take me down, or is this something that's a minor inconvenience? And I think as long as we're able to do that, and as long as we are able to put that into perspective for people when it seems like there's no way out, then I think that may be our gift back to society. Because there are sometimes things happen to each and every one of us and the people around us, and sometimes it just takes someone to put it into perspective to say, hey, man, this is not the end. It's a minor inconvenience. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Even if it's things that we've been through, hey, I've been there. It gets greater later, Yeah. So that's kind of my perspective.
That's good stuff. You're talking about the loyalty and being with the company for so long, an identity crack.
Yeah.
Right. That's definitely what
Yeah.
has happened to me.
Yeah.
And when I think about the work that we do, and I got a little blurb from a guy I respect. His name's Bruno Garcia. He runs a big plant now. He's run a big plant in the past. The role of the plant manager teaches you to stare reality in the face. It, ignoring that reality always comes back worse later. Right. So ignoring that reality always comes back later. People are looking to you for steadiness. You better be prepared. And you've already learned how to face hard shit without flinching. Right. So it's a blessing, that work, with like the rest of everything that you have to do. Right. That's how I think about it. That's, I thought that was a pretty neat little thing that he sent. And when you started talking about that, that's right where my mind went.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the collapse. The next thing is more so the subtraction. It's not loss, it's subtraction, usually after that. What fell away for y'all in those scenarios as you think about the collapse that you went through? Was there anything that stuck out to you on that dissolved?
My anxiety, the stress. I'm a really positive person.
That's huge. That's a big one.
Yeah, both times. Just maybe I am a really loyal person to a fault. And so when I just realized the realization that I was somewhere that wasn't serving me anymore, and that I could start looking for somewhere that would be better suited for me, you're just immediately calmer. Like it's just, like the eye of a storm when like, hey, this is done. Like the resolution of the uncertainty, some because when you're collapsing and it's intentional, so you're like, should I be here anymore? Like when all that stress and anxiety things are happening, you're going home, you're angry, you're bringing it home, you're not sleeping at night, you're like, is this, when you make the decision like, hey, this isn't it for me, there's this calmness that comes, and it's just this peace. And so that's what it was for me. Like I don't even have to like fool around with the mess that's happening because I know that I'm not going to be here much longer. I know that this is not my home anymore. And so you start to care a little less, and the calmness, then the peace that comes with that is a game changer. So that seems like a really negative, like what subtracted, what fell away. But when I think about like what I lost, it was really like the stress and the anxiety that comes with being somewhere that's no longer serving to you and not quite sure if it's where you're supposed to be or not, though.
Yeah, that's the downside to the never quit attitude, right? I mean, when I got let go from Dr. Pepper, I called a couple of people that were close to me. I was like, man, a huge weight just got lifted off my shoulders. Huge weight. I didn't know what that weight was yet. I just knew that something just happened. And I wasn't I was a little bit worried, like, what am I going to do now? But, it always works out.
Sometimes it's nice when you're forced to make that decision.
Unfortunately, right? Like, that's usually been the best route for me. But that's, realizing that what fell away and be like, all right, I'm not going to repeat this. What is it? One of my operating systems that I want to true up and make permanent is, it's not filtering learning. It's what your belief system, like how you alter your belief system and how it's based off repeated patterns, right? So repeated patterns is telling you something, and beforehand it was kind of blind to that. That's a repeated pattern.
Yeah.
So anyone else? Anything fall away?
Mine's kind of like Whitney's, where it was just like the stress and the anxiety kind of fell away. Being in a situation where I thought that that's where I was supposed to be, and then coming to realize that it wasn't serving me. It was hard to deal with that because, for one, you try to like keep up with just the loyalty that you have to yourself also, like in these environments. Like I went into like that, like the situation with KDP, like I went into it where I failed my first interview. And then I, got the job several months later. And then also there was not people that were counting on me to fail, but people that just didn't think that I was going to make it based on whatever like perceptions that they had from the beginning. So trying to like prove that to yourself that, oh yeah, I can do it. Oh yeah, I can keep going. But even after it's quit serving you,
The old
to
trick
be
on your
able
shoulder or chip on your shoulder problem.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's it right there. It's that chip on your shoulder that I got something to prove. But you don't have anything to prove to anybody but yourself. Like the only person that you should genuinely try to be better than is the person you were yesterday.
Mhm.
And having to realize that in myself was I didn't have to be better than what other people thought. I didn't have to be better than what my family thought or anything else. I just needed to be better than the person that I used to be.
Yeah, fuck them. Like it.
No, seriously.
It's true.
That's the truth.
That's the type of
Yeah.
stuff that'll keep you somewhere way past when it serves you.
Yeah.
You gotta let that stuff go.
Sham wow.
It's hard to let that stuff go though sometimes
Yeah.
because the uncertainty, like you start dealing with fear, like fear of your security, like how am I going to pay my bills? Like what's my purpose in life? Like you start dealing with those fears and it becomes a whole different ball game.
Yeah, that's the ultimate driver for a young man.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think hope becomes one at some point.
It does. And it's just like you said that when you got let go, you felt that fear, or didn't feel that fear, but you felt that relief come off your shoulders. Sometimes it's God doing for us what we can't do for ourselves.
Yeah, that's
Sham
true.
wow. No doubt. Anyone
True,
else?
true.
Well,
All right.
loss.
I really.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead, boss.
I think it's kind of the same, the anxiety. I've never been so excited to be unemployed. In my life.
It is my favorite. It's my favorite. Between both jobs, I always took like a week, and there's this like freedom with not having a job. That's crazy. I'm like, I have never experienced that. I've been working since I was 16. It's so fun. I'm like, this is awesome to be unemployed. I understand now.
Yeah, man. I even to the point. So I early in my young adult life, I worked for Atlas Van Lines. I don't know if y'all know what that is. That's like moving furniture all over the U.S. And so I've had this thing ever since I could afford it. Like I will pack everything up in my house, but I don't load U-Hauls. I don't unload U-Hauls. I don't load moving trucks. That's kind of been my thing. I was like, hey, I work hard. I used to move furniture. I don't want to mess with that. When the anxiety lifted, and it kind of lifted before my final day, I was excited enough to load all of my belongings in a U-Haul by myself. And I was like, I'm gonna drive this truck as long as as close as I can get to Texas. And when I'm running on fumes, I'll stop and get a room somewhere. And that just so happened to be Memphis. So I loaded up the U-Haul that day. It was kind of late afternoon, maybe about 1:00. Went and turned in, my badge and keys and stuff like that. And part of that process was you're treated, or in my case, was treated just like anybody else. Turned everything in. Okay, yeah. A good old pat, slight push on the back, right to the front door. And I was just like, damn, all right, well, this is it. Now, people did come outside, kind of like, hey. I was looking for you today, man. What's going on? I saw this truck out here, and had some conversations. But and I drove from Louisville, Kentucky, all the way to Memphis. Got to Memphis. Was lucky enough to find a room that had like two. I think it was like 2 full-size beds in it or something like that. Definitely too small for me. For those of you who know me, that's not enough bed, right? But it was some of the best sleep that I had ever gotten. I mean, I slept and I'm pretty sure feet hanging off one end and probably shoulders and head hanging off the other end. But it was some of the best sleep I had ever got. Jumped up, took a shower, got right back on the road and drove from Memphis all the way here to Roy City, Texas without stopping. Unless it was to get gas and then hop back on the road. But just, it's amazing what you're able to do once you start to move some of the fog and the haze out of the way. Prioritize what's really important in that moment and what aligns with what you want your next 30, 60, 90 days, 6 months to look like. And for me, it was, like I said, by myself, and my storage unit, my storage unit was up on the 3rd floor. So this was me putting everything on the little buggy. The wheels don't quite work the way they're supposed to work, and the corners are really tight in the storage unit, and taking all of my stuff out and balancing it on this rickety little deal and muscling this stuff through the storage, getting on the freight elevator, taking it down, propping the front doors open, and the manager saying, "Hey, you can't do that because it's Louisville, right? You never know who might run in it." And taking it up the ramp of the U-Haul, organizing this stuff in the back of a U-Haul by myself in a way where it doesn't shift. And I did all of that, and I was just like, whatever comes with whenever I make it back home, it's just gonna be whatever it is. Like whatever comes with it is, I'm prepared for it. And if I'm not prepared for it, I'll get prepared for it. But I have to get back home. I have to get back to my house. I have to get back in my element. I have to get back where I'm from, and then I have to reestablish myself. And whatever aches, whatever study, whatever planning that needs to happen in order for me to do that, then I'm willing to do it. That's I know we're talking about loss, but what that loss makes you capable of doing is super important.
What I've written down about what survives, whatever is real enough.
Yeah.
Whatever is real enough. Habits that are real, operating systems, like you said.
Yep.
The willingness to take responsibility, the willingness, you just said willingness. What can't be faked, and capacity for truth.
Yeah.
Nothing's required out of performance. It's the authentic side. And, the collapse burns off the noise. What remains is a signal for direction. Mm-hmm. That's what I've written down about it.
Nice. The funny thing about it, man, is and I'd be interested if any of you guys kind of experienced the same thing, is when I returned home, there was a time where it felt like time slowed down, where I was kind of like, all right, I'm really back home.
The quiet phase
happened next. And then when the next thing happened, time like immediately speeds up. So now I'm like, okay, I'm a year in my next endeavor. And I'm thinking back and I'm like, man, that was a year and a half ago. You know what I mean? Like that was a year and a half ago. So it's kind of, and now I'm looking at my next endeavor where I'm just like, hey man, if we do the type of work that we do for large corporations, I'm willing to bet on myself that I think I can carve out a nice living running my own company. I think I've had enough practice in the big, large corporations to where it's almost like school to be an entrepreneur, and I think that the skill sets that you need to have and that we're trained to hone in on, and I think that they lend to being an entrepreneur in a lot of different areas. So I'm at that point now where I'm just like, I've worked for a couple of years to set everything up. Tony would tell you I'm a huge ChatGPT guy. I've had recent proof that if you use it right, that it can be fairly lucrative. And by all accounts, everything that I've put in it said that you set everything up to be able to make the jump right now. So those are some of the things that I'm looking at, and it's an exciting time, man.
Good stuff. Well, let's hop into the quiet phase. The phase after the fireworks, when calm feels wrong, especially from our type of work. When silence tells the truth, when there's no external urgency telling you what to do, who to be. And this is, the phase that a lot of people panic or numb out. I wanted to feel everything so I could get over it faster, right? Just like, all of you and what you've said so far, you want to move on. There is that time though that you have to take, and you have to really process. I don't like using that word, but it's real. So, what are you laughing
No,
about?
I think that's true. Like you have to take that time to process it because in order for you to actually heal it, you have to feel it. So while it's
Yes, and this is your
so
cup of tea right now.
oh yes,
Definitely.
this is it. Like, but if you're not dealing with those those emotions that you just stuffed, you stuffed it. Like we are in these plants and we're running around like crazy, we're problem solving, we're doing all the things, and there's a ton of emotions that we didn't process. We came home, we numbed it with either a drink or numbed it with something else, and then went to bed, got back up and did the same thing over and over again. So once all the quiet's there, sometimes that quiet feels wrong just because you're actually having to feel everything. And so you ultimately end up finding a new passion, whether it be a new job or a new habit or mine's school. Like I just went back to school. Like that was my thing. That's what I jumped into. That became my new addiction. That became my new passion that continued to keep growing into me and fueling me. And I think everybody finds that, but in that brief moment, it's so quiet. You're like, you don't know how to deal with those emotions, and I don't know, get through it. It's hard.
Good.
Those moments are hard.
Yeah, it feels like stagnating, which is not a good place to be. It doesn't feel good being
No, and I think
not
you
going
almost like
anywhere.
interpret it as like those quiet moments because we stay so busy, you interpret it with like bad negative feelings, which really doesn't necessarily have to be bad negative feelings. Just that's just how we interpret it because we spent so much time being the high achievers, being the producers, hitting those KPIs, problem solving everything, that those quiet moments are not what we're used to.
Shamwell?
Right. So I think in the production world, especially, so the the point where I am right now, I'm looking at what happens in 3 years, you know, retirement. Am I ready for that? Because I like to be heavily involved with everything. I mean, if I have something go wrong on Monday, I'm going to be back in the plant an hour and a half early on Tuesday to make sure everything's going right. And then if it's a smooth Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, on Saturday, I'm calling the guys at work. Hey, is everything okay? Is it running all right? Is this doing right? Do you need me to come in? When you get to the point where your people have learned so much from you that they don't need you as much, is that gets me kind of concerned and worried. Yeah, it means that you have maybe trained your people 100% well. They can make it on their own. They don't need you, Dad. But in the same sense as my age, I feel like everybody there, those are my work kids, my work family. And if they don't need you, your kids at home don't need you, you kind of feel lost. I want to be involved with every single thing that happens. I don't care if it's, I'm heavily involved with our HR department at work. I'm heavily involved with the safety, the plant manager, the whole deal. It's like everything surrounds about. They call me grandpa out there because I'm like the oldest guy there. But when it comes to the point where they don't need me, then I get the feeling of, did I do the right thing? Have I trained everybody right? Or are they just going on their own and they don't need me anymore? So then, should I retire now or should I wait 3 years? Have you done enough to help people succeed in life?
Yeah, it's
Good
hard not
question.
being the people that fix, manage, and control everything.
Right.
I just think that's the type of people we are. I also think that's the mark of a good leader. And I just had this conversation at my new job because we just went through a round of rifts, a round of layoffs, and we laid off some pretty high positions. And I was saying it was because they had trained the people under them so well that they kind of were not necessary. Like we had a manager who was over a department and her team worked so well underneath her that they were able to continue to function without her. And while it was forced, Jimbo, she didn't retire, but, they were ready to kind of fly and not necessarily have that position. If that team turns over, we might have to bring somebody else in to train them and get them back to that level. It'll probably still be a loss to the company. But I think it takes a strong leader to want to be involved in everything and not be like, that's not my business. That's HR. That's safety. That's quality. Like, that's not something I have to manage. Like, it's rare when you find somebody who understands that as a leader, like your influence and your push of all facets is what's going to allow like your team to be successful because you have that relationship to the point where it's not annoying, that they care. And so I don't think everybody feels that way. I've worked with several people who are like, Whitney, what are you going to do? Like, I need you to have this conversation with this person about this. And I'm like, you're their leader. Like, I'm HR, but they don't even know me. Like, I can help coach you through the conversation, and I think that, so it takes a great leader to be like, I want to be involved, and I want to manage, to an aspect. And then I think that sometimes you just have people who are so great, their teams are thriving, and you kind of work yourself out of a job, which is the goal.
It's only the goal if you get to like move up,
not
that you get like pushed
not
out.
Get rid.
Right.
Right. I mean, if you're looking to retirement,
that's your internal standard.
But I'm going to do something else anyway.
Standard.
Yeah, but I'm when I do retire, I am going to do something else. I'm going to open up a restaurant. Is my goal. So
Jimbo,
to get away.
I thought you didn't want to be in the restaurant world. Now we're opening our own restaurant. That's the conversation we need to have.
Yeah. So when I retire, so this is what happens, and it happened at KDP too. I used to cook for everybody. So I have a KPI board. I have a KPI board at work, and I have set goals for every department. They used to work individual goals, first shift against second shift, blah, blah, blah. And I told them, I said, this is a team goal. So I put up a KPI board with a goal for every department for every month. And when they hit that goal, I cook whatever they want. If they want ribs, we have ribs. They want chicken, we have chicken, what have you. But I bring the smoker to work. I fire it up. We cook all day long. I have a 4th of July party for the entire team, and I'm out there cooking all day long for everybody. Christmas dinner. At Thanksgiving and Christmas, we do a dinner together, and I am there totally for 38 hours straight at work cooking for the entire crew to make sure it shows my appreciation to them. I enjoy cooking. I just didn't want to work in a restaurant when I was young, but now I like it more. So, but I do believe, I am a firm believer, if you take care of those who take care of you, your job will be a whole lot easier.
ShamWow.
I think you were asking about the silence.
Yeah, quiet phase.
The quiet phase. That's something that I still struggle with, honestly. And a big part of it is not only the way that we've been trained and the way that we've operated for our adult lives, but even my upbringing. So by every measurable metric, I'm blessed to be where I am and kind of doing some of the things that I'm doing. And for me, I've always attributed like something not happening to being a chance to regress back to like poverty. That's always this part of my brain. Like, hey, if you're not actively trying to move forward, then hey man, it's a chance that you're missing out on something, or you know what I mean? So I've always
where self-sabotage happens, right?
Yeah. And then the rub is having that type of mentality, but not managing or leading that way. So always having this sense of, You need to be active. You need to be doing something. You need to be proactive. You need to be thinking about what's next, but not being forceful and a bull in the china shop from a leadership standpoint. But like I'm on vacation from work right now, and every day I'm doing something. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to just sit and just not do anything and just relax. So the quiet phase is something that I'm still trying to get used to. And like I said, I typically take vacation to take care of things that I want to take care of outside of work. It's not really a vacation. But yeah, I still struggle with that. And as I'm starting to get older, Lord willing, I'll be 43 in April, but as I'm starting to get older, not a spring chicken anymore, how the old folks used to tell us. I'm starting to appreciate actually being still. I'm starting to appreciate, maybe I don't need to do anything today. You know what? Maybe, and a prime example, I have a brand new lawnmower that I was excited to get, and I used it maybe twice. I'm like, man, I'm getting a yard guy. Got a yard guy, and so the lawnmower's just taking up space in the garage. So I'm trying to. And I used to enjoy cutting the yard and running my edger, and I probably edged a little too much. So there's probably like a inch and a half of clear from the sidewalk to where my yard starts because I like using my gas powered edger. But I'm starting to appreciate quiet and things being still a lot more. But it is taking me some time to really appreciate that, just because, like I said, I've seen what mediocrity can do to people and to a family. Mine specifically, and I've seen I've seen what it looks like if you're not giving your all and you get used to, or you get caught in this
complacent. You feel complacent.
Exactly. Getting complacent with just enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I struggle with the same thing.
Yeah. So I'm always like, even now, if it's too quiet, I start thinking like, okay, all the bills are paid, maybe I need to go to the shop.
Where's the bad guy?
Yeah, like, do I need to take Marketplace? Because I have stuff listed on Marketplace. I'm like, all right, this guy asked about this car. Do I need to go take some more pictures? Like, I'm always like constantly, trying to think about what's next. But it's starting to catch up with me too.
I've written down a couple of things that signal that you're not doing that right. When I say right, feeling the comment like it's okay, it's okay. One of those is starting new things that we don't intend to continue. The lawnmower, pick and fight, even, and sudden life changes that all of a sudden happen for some reason, and getting more towards protecting a certain rhythm and cadence. Like, all right, now I'm going to narrow my focus into something precise. Get real precise, find the precision, compound it, and building things that don't spike you. Building things that are consistent, that are stable, that have pace to them, endurance. And when I think about identity in that, we get caught up on, I am this. Okay, well, what do your behaviors say you are? And letting the identity lag behind those behaviors. And that's when you know. Right. That's something that's really come to light to me over the past few months.
Nice.
Yeah, I think sitting still sometimes is hard, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, especially if you're using it for like time of reflection to genuinely get to understand where you're at authentically and how to become like more transparent just for yourself and everybody around you. It's not easy in the beginning. It's one of those things that takes some genuine like you have to take genuine time to do it, to actually learn it. So it's like practice. You got to practice the still. And make sure that you're intentional about your still also, because you don't want your still just to become, stagnant time while you're sitting on a couch. You want your still to become something where you're continuing to grow yourself and feed yourself and fuel yourself.
Yeah, explore.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I don't know if I can participate in this conversation, because I love to sit still. And so I was like, but what I will say, you know what taught me to sit still? COVID, because it set everybody down. I got laid off from work twice.
It did not.
Opposite effect.
I'm sorry.
Opposite. Have fun running a food and beverage manufacturing facility during COVID.
We were getting red light or green lighted every day.
Oh, honey, I was not in food and beverage during COVID. I was in auto manufacturing. I was in HR, and you think like master degree HR, there was only 5 people in my department. We could not be touched. I got laid off twice in that time. I was doing 3 people's jobs. I was running payroll. I was first shift and I was third shift, and they laid us all off. And so I was sat home for 2 weeks each time, and you couldn't go anywhere or do anything because we're in the heart of COVID. And I've always been an avid reader, but I read like the entire Harry Potter series. Then I watched all the movies. And I just learned, I was like, wait, this is awesome. Like, you just don't know what that's like when you're not intentional about sitting at home and not doing anything. My house was clean. I couldn't go anywhere. My mom was up the street. I had a friend that was coming and going. We were breaking the rules, but you know how that was. I was young. And so, you were just like, it's nice. And so now I think COVID taught me that it's great to be at home doing nothing. And so I'm very intentional about like my weekends, and, I do not do work when I take vacation. I go on vacation. I only also put in PTO if, also a privilege of mine with my position, if I leave the country. So, if I'm traveling domestically, I'll continue to work. So when I'm on PTO, I'm out of the country. And it is for me, right? It's to make like me happier, to remind myself to keep myself first, to make sure that I'm doing what makes me happy, and, what feeds my soul versus, my siblings or my parents or my husband or my dogs, because there are so many people who are like looking for you, relying on you, needing you. Everybody needs you. Work, personal, everybody needs something from Whitney. And so I always have to put my phone away. I'm not doing anything today. My mom will be like, what are you doing? Nothing. Like, I don't want to go nowhere. I'm not doing anything, because that's me time. So I love to sit still now. But I will say that's a lesson that COVID taught me when I was sat at home, not able to go anywhere or do anything. So now you don't have to tell me twice. When I was unemployed between my last 2 jobs, it was the best. And I am a busybody, but I could usually give myself like two days where I'm reading, laying around the house, ordering pizza, like just allowing myself to kind of refresh, get, refill my battery. And then I'm like, okay, I'll get up and bake something or, build something. I tried to convince my husband to paint our wall today. So, I mean, I'm a busybody, don't get me wrong, but I love to sit still, like when the opportunity presents itself, because when you are in the throw of things, you're right, Bakari. You said, in between it was slow, then you look up and you're in a new job, you have a new responsibility, and it's fast again. So when I have the opportunity to slow down, like I really jump on it, because it doesn't come too often.
Whitney, you were finding yourself during COVID, and the rest of us were just going to work every day.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I forgot. I have a privileged career. It's true. I was sat at home, not able to go nowhere, do nothing.
I was wishing for those days.
Honey, I was angry. That's part of the reason looking back now, maybe I shouldn't have been, but that is also part of the reason when my job laid me off the first time, I was like, me? Who wouldn't want me to come to work? Please, I'm a joy. Then they laid me off the second time, and I was like, bro, I better start looking for another job, because they don't need me. Nah, I'm not high enough. I'm not important enough to stay. Nah. And so,
yeah.
Come on, Tony.
Sorry, I had a little one here.
You're on a dad duty?
Yeah. Got one of them over here right now. One of my new rules, slowest filtration. It's probably my favorite one right now.
It's true.
What I miss?
No, nothing. I want you to explain to me what slow filtration means.
Slow is filtration.
Okay.
So manufacturing environment, go, now. Time is of the essence. Minutes matter, seconds matter. into understanding what's really important. I think you probably have cycles of thought processes that work automatically. And to really figure out which ones are important, to slow it down and really let time filter what's important is important. So for me, it's no more, there's a time for speed and there's a time for, these low cost U-turns. Hey, let's make a decision now. We'll figure it out. If it doesn't work, fine. No harm, no foul. It's not a big deal. When it comes to the big deals, low cost U-turns don't exist. That U-turn is going to cost, and trying to avoid a cost that is avoidable is where slow is filtration comes into play for me.
I like that because for me, it like puts in mind, like when I'm thinking of slowest filtration, I'm thinking of water. You start filtering that water, you get out the heavy metals, you get out all the things that like shouldn't be in your water to make it pure. So I like that.
Cool. All right. I think we kind of touched into this one, but integration phase. So integration, when I say integration phase, I'm talking like when you've made it, and we will never make it, but you know what I mean? Like when you're coming out of that, when you're kind of starting to feel like, okay, this shit's making sense. I'm starting to behave like I wanted to, or, the act of where your insights become behaviors. When y'all came out of those, collapses, do you remember where things started clicking for you, and what was that? And
I think a few things I think about. So, I have a memory, and it's something that's super simple. And this happened a couple years ago, but it was I think it was like an afternoon. I got off work. I was debating whether or not to go to my shop, which is probably like 10 minutes away from my house. The way that the sun was setting, and I was going to go check the mailbox, which I hate doing. I was going to go check the mailbox, but I walked out. I pulled in the driveway, walked in the house, and when I walked out, the sun was setting just at the right time. The sun was setting, and the sun was kind of behind the houses in the neighborhood, but the sky kind of had like this pinkish type hue to it. Kids were riding their bikes through the neighborhood. Manicured lawns, and I thought about it. I was like, damn, man, like, who would have ever thought? Kid from the projects, you grow up seeing all kind of stuff. Like, who would, like, I was like, man, everything that I wanted to accomplish, just to have a normal middle class, I didn't have to have this big mansion and exotic cars like that, but just to have a normal, simple life. I was like, damn, man, I was able to accomplish it, and I have what's going to be my business to go to too. So the things that I wanted, and I would always say this, trying to make sure my behavior always aligned with what my goals are. And then
conscious congruency. That's another big one that I wrote down, like congruency with conscience, right?
Yeah, man. And so like to actually see it and be like, damn, this is what I worked for. And then the realization, like, of course, this is what you worked for. Like, it didn't, like you didn't just scratch off, and all of a sudden you are like, obviously, this is what you've been doing. But to also realize that I overshot it into what the next chapter is going to be, which is again entrepreneurship. So, like, yes, you've done what you needed to do and what you're supposed to do to be able to have a normal, stable life, but you've also started to check the boxes on the next chapter too. And that was years ago. So now I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, now I have classic cars in the shop. I have the spare outlets in the shop. I have like the next phase. You know what I mean? I've already started checking on the next phase. So now I'm looking at, and it's funny we're talking about this. Now I'm looking at it like, all right, does my behavior match with what the with the evolution of this, and what I've learned is that I do still have some other boxes that I need to check, that I could be a lot more proactive on, and that I am starting to be a lot more proactive on. So I'm interested to see what the next year looks like, what the next 6 months look like. But yeah, man, I have some work to do, but I will be honest and say that I'm pretty proud of what that little chubby kid from a not so desirable part of town with non-ideal background was able to carve out.
One of my favorite irrefutable laws of leadership or whatever is big momentum. What you're kind of talking about, right? That's the fun stuff for me. Like when things just all of a sudden everything's coming together, everything's clicking, all pistons are firing. But it's also one of the biggest riskiest. There's one of the riskier sides of it, because now everything's great.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yep.
Yeah. So maintaining that. Go ahead.
It's almost like like you're talking about when everything's clicking and everything's great. You're actually in the back of your mind waiting for that next collapse.
Yep.
What's going to happen? Because it's like, speaking to what he was speaking about, from where you come from to where you are now, who would have ever thought that at your age that you could be successful and somebody that someone looks up to, and everything's running nice and smooth, clicking along, and then tomorrow morning you wake up and the collapse. So and that's what I was speaking to earlier. I think everybody's had collapses, and it comes monthly, weekly, yearly, what have you. Once you learn to get past the collapse, just let it go. It is what it is. I have a sign in my office. In case you haven't known, I'll send you pictures of my office, Tony. I painted it all Alabama. They gave me the opportunity to paint my office the way I wanted to. So I've got red and white walls, roll tide written in the white, and custom letters written up there. So it's awesome. But above the door, I have the word win. So when I leave my office every day, I tap that win, because I want that day to be successful, and I'm going to do all I can to win. And when I retire, I hope that office goes to somebody that has the same concept. Maybe change the color, but leave win up there, because that is something that you have to work for every day, is a win. Wins do not come free.
No, they don't. I think that it kind of goes to what you said, just building off of what you said. Every collapse that we have, we continue to learn from those collapses. So when you're in those quiet moments and everything's going good and the momentum's building and what's going to happen next, like you've already kind of started building that foundation on how you're going to deal with the next collapse. So each collapse gets a little bit easier, because you're building that foundation to be where you need to be.
It's how you respond, right, Whitney?
Yeah.
Which is her price of admission.
Yeah. Sometimes I've been accused of having toxic positivity. I think I said that a little earlier. And honestly, she wasn't joking when she said it to me either, but it really hurt my feelings and it really haunts me. So now sometimes I find myself trying not to be it's a mindset, but you can, and I know it's not always the case, but for me, it's the case. It's how you respond. And I usually can pick myself up and be at the end of the day, I'm blessed and highly favored. And I'm going to be okay. I'm going to land on my feet. I have a wonderful, support system, and I'm going to be okay. And which is why I don't dwell in things too long, because I don't want to forget that I'm going to be okay. And you have to be careful what you say to people, because I was just I don't want
in the wrong environment.
You know what?
The toxic thing gets thrown around way too much.
Still my friend too, and it's so funny because the other day I was I would think. I mean, friend is loose, but yeah, she was just and I was I don't think, she was toxic positivity is a thing. I don't think it is. I think sometimes you have to make the decision to see the positive in every situation. Otherwise, the negative is going to weigh you down. How are you going to get out of it? Whatever I'm learning, I'm trying to learn and I'm trying to get out of here, and I'm going to do it with a smile on my face. I hate that bothers something in you. I'm so sorry, man.
I don't think that toxic positivity is an actual thing like that. I just genuinely
There's a
don't,
bunch of
because
negative people who think
at
so.
the end of the day, like, it's about the perspective. And as leaders, it's our job to help people understand that things are going to be okay. Like, today sucked. Maybe your line went down. Maybe this broke. Maybe you spent 8 hours trying to figure out what was going on. But at the end of the day, like, we're going to be okay. Like,
Right.
and
Like there's stuff
being
to go
able,
home to. Like there is something positive happening for you today.
yes, absolutely.
It's rough out here. I do have to watch how I surround myself with work, personal, because they'll try to suck it out of you. They'll try to make you just as miserable as they are.
They're the energy vampires.
Yes, you know, Tony. I think I gave Energy Buster. I think I gave that book to you, Tony. You put that in my LinkedIn recommendation. That's what you know who the name that shall not be named was an energy vampire. And energy vampires are really hard to deal with. And you know, the Energy Bus book was like, just get them off your project, but you can't just fire people. So it's not always that easy. You know, it's not always that easy. And so
Environment has so much to do with stuff. I didn't used to think so as much. You know, when I was younger. I'm just now starting to get some confidence back in my life, which is everything. Like, confidence is everything.
Yeah.
And if you're around that crap all the time, it's really hard to find some of that. It's just, you know, when I talk about precision, compounding results and stability, pacing, like all those things are like can get knocked off real easy by being in an environment like that. Yeah.
I think, you know, I'm old school Christian. Like I was raised in a very religious household, and they always talk about the power of words, and like there's power of life and death in the tongue. And you don't understand the weight of that until you're around someone who's really like speaking negative into your life or just like over who you are. And you're like, you know, I don't have to believe these things. I mean, she told me that I was a little toxic positive one time, and it's been like 3 years. And every time I'm like, I have a really positive reaction to that, I still like will filter or stop that from coming out because I'm like maybe nobody wants to be as positive as I am. And so I won't, you know, get that. And I hate that for people who don't get to experience my positivity because I'm filtering it because I don't want them to be like, she's always happy. And I'm not always happy. I'm not, but
we can forgive, but can't forget.
Yeah. And it's just, you know, I do know who I am. And I think that sometimes people are missing that. To your point, Tony, like I do know who I am. I do know what I bring to the table. I do know, you know, what my goals in life are and what I'm trying to achieve. And I know that I can achieve them. I have achieved them and will continue to achieve them. And so I have something to smile back. Yeah, I don't gotta be upset.
Yeah, you can choose on purpose now.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else on the integration phase before I hit the new rules? Yeah. All right, so here are my 5 new rules. And I don't like using this one a whole lot too because it gets burned up, but peace is definitely a KPI now. You know, being calm, being okay with stuff, knowing yourself and being okay with that, finding confidence again, all those things. Slowest filtration, we hit on that. No more auditioning, so no mask. That I think that's important. I put masks on all the time for stuff. I had something written down on that. Dang, where? I got my wall with my wall notes. I can't find it. You know, masculinity as containment. That one's been a hot topic for me lately. On, you know, there's a bit of a societal war on that. There's things that I agree with, things I don't agree with. And, you know, basically the whole be a beast, but control yourself thing. Like, I love that. I don't know why, but I just love having I don't want to lose my edge because my edge usually has to do with explosive, whatever, explosive, you know, finding momentum, exploiting the the weak spots, carrying the ball and running with it. Give me the ball. Like I love that stuff. So not losing that, but the compound, again, filtration rhythm with reps without losing my edge. That's kind of like my 2026 thing. And maybe that changes in a couple of years. I don't know. That's where I'm at right now. How to build with that, because I enjoy building and whatnot. And no betrayal of future you. So not, the biggest disrespect is self-disrespect, for sure. Because it links back to the whole, congruency with conscious, where you're, do what you say you're going to do. You can't do everything. But those are kind of my 5 new rules. And I don't want to say new, but solidified and focused. There's no more rules. Do y'all have a favorite out of those? Something that resonates with you?
I wrote down 2, and I think your first one, peace, and you said it's overused, but I don't think there are enough people who are at peace, which is why there are so many disruptions in the world. And we're a bunch of leaders on the call, so a lot of us work with people, lead people. We're out here trying to achieve whatever goals or change, and I think you can't be a true leader if you're not at peace. Because when you're not at peace,
maybe that's the one I need to work on the most, because
when you're not at peace, your emotions are too malleable. Your emotions can be too affected by what people are saying or doing. When you're not at peace, when you're not confident in what you're executing, you have emotional reactions, and those can be used against you, or they make situations worse. And I think just current state and society and some of the things we're going through, there's not enough peace. There are not enough people who are confident in who they are and what they're doing, and that manifests in them being really terrible people. Yeah. Being really terrible people because they are just too intimidated or scared of what's going on, or what they don't know, or what people are saying.
Compound hatred.
Yes, or they're too influenced by the people around them. You want to value this relationship, so therefore you go along with whatever they're saying. And I just think if more people were at peace with who they are, we would be better. So that actually is probably my favorite one. I know that's everybody. That's why I can sit still and enjoy myself. Everybody needs to work on getting themselves to peace first, because it'll overflow into who we are and how we interact with people and what we do day to day. I think that's the trick, actually. If somebody was like, what's the trick to a good life? I would say it's being at peace with yourself. If you're confident in what you're doing and who you are, then nobody can shake that. And that just leaves a lot of the riffraff out of here.
Good thing it's number 1.
Yeah, I think that one's great. No disclaimer needed. Half of y'all out here listening need to make sure that you are at peace with who you are, and that you're not letting people who are not influence that.
90%.
No, okay, I like it. My other one was no betrayal of future you, because I think those are hand in hand. I do have to make sure when people, when I'm sitting in a job and I don't think this job is serving me anymore, does Whitney in 5 years want to look up and still be covering 9 leaders and 4 sites and traveling between 2 every 6 weeks and away from my dogs and my home and not being appreciated and answering to the same leaders and doing the same thing over and over and over? I'm at the definition of insanity. I need to do what's best for me in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years.
Yeah, I think the no betrayal of future you, the peace one, and you kind of alluded to it. That's why it's first. It's super important. But the no betrayal of the future you, really all of them. So I think I captured 4: no more auditioning, masculinity is containment, no betrayal of the future you, and then peace. The other one, I think I missed it, but and maybe this part needs to get cut out at some point. But I'm to the point where I don't give a fuck, bro. I've worked.
No need to cut.
Because by nature, we wouldn't be in the roles that we've served in if we didn't care. You know what I mean? Like it takes so much out of you where you
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
care, but like at a certain point where you like Whitney alluded to it, like at the end of the day, we know that we have done and are doing these things for the right reason. And if somebody don't understand that, bro, I don't give a damn. Like there's no way I'm getting minimal sleep, working all these hours if I'm not doing it with the right intention and the right spirit for the right reason. Like we're not doing this to be self-serving. You know what I mean? And if someone, and I'm to the point in the spirit of no betrayal of future you, I know that I've done this and I am doing it for the right reason. And if you don't get it, I don't give a damn. Because I will always be able to look back and say, can I honestly, not to anybody else, to myself, did I do that? Did I lead people with the right intention? And did I lead folks better than when I first met them? And have those folks grown in their careers, or have they grown personally, or do I still have relationships with these people, right? Meaningful relationships, not just like so that's kind of where I am now. And even to the point in my current role where I kind of have the same mentality, the same mentality where it's like, listen, maybe my function was to move this place forward just a little bit, not to take it to the promised land, just to move it forward just a little bit. And by every measurable metric, if we look at it, I have. It may not have looked the way that someone external to the site wanted it to. It may not have looked the way that some people internal to the site may have wanted it to. But is it better today than it was a year before I got here? And the answer is yes. And we did it in the right spirit for the right purpose. And we moved the needle in the right direction, then I'm good with it. And that's really new for me because I always thought, hey, I'm supposed to touch down and take this thing all the way to the finish line. And now I'm like, hey, maybe I'm not supposed to take it the full 100 yards. Maybe I'm supposed to get us 2 first downs and go and sit on the bench and let the young bulls come in and take it the rest of the way. But yeah, that's out of the 5 that you mentioned, that no betrayal of the future you. I think about future me looking back over the last 10 or 15 years, I think about, hey, did you do the right thing for yourself, and did you do the right thing as it relates to all of these different people who have been under your leadership over the last couple of years?
A bittersweet thing about what we do is kind of on that is the needle's always moving.
Mm-hmm.
You move the needle to the goal, you stay there for a little bit, and it's like, all right, here we go again, ramp it up. And if you're always ramping it up,
that's what I was thinking as you were talking. Is I think the people that were managing us, like who are always constantly moving the needle, I think sometimes they get wrapped up in whatever they're trying to deliver and they forget, like where we come from, like the impact of the day to day. Like we're out here, and that's again why I don't be tripping, because I know I missed from whatever space I exit because I work really hard to develop the relationships and have an impact while I'm there. And it's just, you're not going to get that, day to day. So some people will tell you, and it is what it is. I think people who are managing us forget that. I love that analogy, so I'm gonna start using that. Like maybe I wasn't meant to take it all 100 yards. Maybe I was only supposed to, but it's 20 more than you guys were when I was here, and those other 80 aren't gonna be as fun as the 20 you did with me. Like good luck with that.
So I think for me, like I really like all of them, but the 3 that like hit home the most for me is like the slowest filtration, because like you're taking everything, making it pure. But then also the so I've got them written down. No more auditioning. Like I'm not going to audition anymore, because I'm not going to betray my future self. I'm not going to allow myself to be in rooms where I'm not wanted. I'm going to be in the rooms where I have a purpose and
valued.
Valued. Like I'm a value add to that room. And as soon as I'm not a value add to that room, I will remove myself from that room. So I'm being authentic and to myself.
Compound precision.
Yeah. but it's not something that's come easy for me, because again, it's one of those things, like I think as you get older and as you grow with time and you hit these road bumps throughout your life and you have these crashes and have to build from the crashes, is where that pain genuinely becomes growth.
So I would say my favorite one was the no auditioning. I think everybody, most of you know me, is I am who I am. I'm not going to put on a front. I'm going to, you might tell me you want me to do something, but I'm going to explain it to you in a way that your way's not going to work. I am who I am. I'm not going to be a puppet. I'm going to do what's best for the company, my people, and myself. And the biggest thing being myself. I will make sure that I'm taken care of, my folks are taken care of. But if you expect me to do something that is not logically correct by the people or by the company, then I'll just see myself out. I am not gonna be your little puppet and okay, I'll do it, knowing deep down that it's not the right thing to do. Uh, I've been through several upper management people, and I say this wholeheartedly, not trying to get on any good sides, but Tony, you were the best plant manager that I ever had.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Just
Well, I
I'll
respect
use
you
this.
100%. I mean, there's
Same.
not too many people in this yeah, there's not too many people in this world that have left a job that still have a friendship relationship with their old plant manager. I
That's one of
mean,
my favorite things,
Facts.
though, is like, and that's why I stay in touch with the people that had an impact on me with you guys. Is that's one of the best, most satisfying things ever. Is like when you go through something hard with someone and you stay connected, like, or you get a, hey, what's up? Like, that's awesome to me. I love it. So
well,
I
I think
appreciate you.
the biggest thing you taught me was transparency. You always you always brought that up. Transparency,
Yeah.
transparency. And when you're straightforward with people and are upfront with everything that's going on, that's what they want. That's what they like to hear. They don't want no bullshit. They want the honest truth. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to call his name, but the day that you called me and another guy in the office, you and I were in there talking, and I said, I think he's got issues with me. Well, let's find out. You called him to the office. Oh, no, 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 no. What? But there was issues, but it was transparent. Everything was up front. It was brought out in the open. It was cured, and it is what it is. So I appreciate everything that you, even though you're like 100 years younger than me, showed me what you showed
Well,
me.
100. 20.
So, right. But I mean, you know, there's so many different avenues that people can take in life, whether it's with production, HR, be you. That's the biggest thing is be you.
Awesome. Man, this got me choked up here. Some closing truths. Let's close this out. Is there anything else anybody wants to say before I hit these closing truths and wrap it up? All right. What stood when the momentum died? People who stayed, values that didn't collapse, and the version of you that doesn't need noise to exist. It reveals your credibility and responsibility. You discover your default actions. It kills urgency theater. The relationships that survive are real. And if everything that's performative burns, and everything that is performative burns, if you're in a quiet season thinking of something, something is wrong, it might be the first time that things are actually right. That's what survives. And this is where the building actually begins. If you go backwards now, after a realization such as this, or an experience such as this, it's not confusion, it's a decision. That's all I got. So I appreciate y'all being here today. Thank you for having a conversation, reconnecting. It was fun. I had a good time. I had some takeaways. I know that pieces of KPI is something I still got to work on. You know, and a lot of those rules line up, but I think, you know, that top one probably is the, you know, at the top of the pyramid, an inverted pyramid. But yeah, good talk. Appreciate you. And y'all be good.
Always
All right, man.
fun.